Hello everyone. Today we will talk about thermal properties of the matter. In this topic we will discuss the meaning of heat energy, the temperature, what is the meaning of temperature, and we will also discuss the various changes in the matter which happen whenever a substance is heated or cooled, right? So we will discuss all these things under this topic. So very first thing to understand is what is heat, what we call as heat. So it is a very simple term. As you see that whenever you are in sunlight, you feel the hotness of the sun, right? You feel that your skin is burning if it is in excess heat in the we can say summer, and you will feel the sunlight to be pleasant whenever it is in winters. So heat is something that produces the sensation of hotness or coldness in us. So when heat is present, we feel that it is hot, and whenever heat is not there or it is comparatively less, then we feel that it is cold there. So heat is nothing but it is something that produces the sensation of hotness or coldness. So this is what we call as heat. So it is kind of energy that gives us the sensation of hotness or coldness. So it is a kind of energy. So if it is energy, of course it can be represented in we can say joules. Okay. Whenever substances are heated, they suppose that we have a few samples of the substances, suppose 3 samples, and we are heating them for different period of time. So this is heated for example 10 minutes, this is heated for 20 minutes, and third one is heated for 30 minutes. So which one would you understand that it will be hottest? Of course, the one which will be heated for longer period of time, it will be the hottest. Then the second sample, it will be comparatively less hot, and the third sample, which is heated for the smallest period of time, it will be least hot of all the we can say substances. It will be the coldest of all the 3. So that means they can have the different degrees of hotness. So a physical quantity which gives the measure of how hot or cold a body is, it is called as temperature. So temperature is a physical quantity which gives the measurement of degree of hotness of a body. Alternatively, we can understand that a body which is having higher temperature, it is having the more amount of heat energy. So that is how do we understand heat and the temperature in their simple way. And the study of temperature and various behaviors of the temperature on the we can say substances, it is the branch of science which deals with the measurement of temperature of a substance. We call it thermometry or calorimetry. Okay. So there are the different units or scales on which the temperature can be represented. There are different ways to represent the temperature, or we can say degree of hotness of a body. The very first of them is the Celsius scale. Celsius scale, right? It is called as degree Celsius. So what does that mean? The melting point over the Celsius scale, the melting point, the temperature at which the ice melts, the melting point of ice, or let it me write in this way. So melting point of ice on Celsius scale, it is called as 0 degree Celsius. And the boiling point of water, boiling point of water. It is given the temperature on the Celsius scale as the 100 degree Celsius. So, the scale ranging from 0 degree, it is called as the lower value of the temperature Celsius scale, and 100 degree it is called as the upper value of the Celsius scale. So, the range from 0 to 100, it is divided into 100 equal parts. If we subtract upper scale, which is 100, it reads 100, minus the lower scale, it reads 0. The value comes out to be 100. So, we divide the scale from 0 to 100 degrees Celsius into 100 equal number of divisions. So, each division measures 1 degree Celsius temperature. So, this is the simple way to understand the Celsius scale. Similarly, we have another scale which is the Fahrenheit scale. Fahrenheit scale, it measures the temperature in degree Fahrenheit, and for this the melting point of ice, it is given the temperature of 32 degree Fahrenheit on the Fahrenheit scale. The melting point of ice in Celsius scale, it is called as 0 degree Celsius, and in Fahrenheit scale it is called as 32 degree Fahrenheit. And the boiling point of water in Celsius scale, it is called as 100 degree Celsius, but in Fahrenheit scale it is called as 212 degree Fahrenheit. So, if we subtract the upper limit and the lower limit, we get 212 minus 32 and we get 180. So, we divide this range of Fahrenheit scale ranging from lower value 32 degree Fahrenheit to upper value 212 degree Fahrenheit. We divide this scale into 180 divisions. Then each of the 180 divisions, it will be equal to 1 degree Fahrenheit. Similarly, we have another scale called as Reaumur scale. Which reads the temperature in degree Reaumurs. So, the melting point of ice in case of this Reaumur scale, it is called as 0 degree Reaumur, whereas the boiling point of water on Reaumur scale, it is called as 80 degree Reaumurs. So, when we see the difference of upper limit and lower limit of this Reaumur scale, we get 80. So, we divide this scale into 80 equal parts. So, each of these 80 equal parts, each part measures 1 degree Reaumur, right? So, we can relate all these three scales which measures the same temperatures, right? So, on Celsius scale, the temperature equivalent to the melting point of ice, it is called as 0 degree Celsius. On Fahrenheit scale, it is called as 32 degree Fahrenheit, and on Reaumur scale, it is called as 0 degree Reaumurs. Similarly, their upper limits, the boiling point of water in Celsius scale, it is called as 100 degree Celsius. The on Fahrenheit scale, it is called as 212 degree Fahrenheit, and on Reaumur scale, it is called as 80 degree Reaumurs. So, we take the relationship between the three scales, which comes out to be theta means temperature. Here we make use of theta to be the symbol of temperature. So, the range over the Celsius scale, it is the upper limit minus lower limit. So, it is theta c minus 0 divided by 100. This is equal to the same temperature on Fahrenheit scale. It will be called as theta f minus 32 divided by range. Here it is 180. This range is 180. This range is 100. And on Reaumur scale, this range is 80. And this on Reaumur scale, it is equal to theta r divided by the range of Reaumur scale, which is 80. So, this is the relationship according to which the three scales are related. So if we know any temperature on any of the three scales, we can calculate the that temperature on the other scale. So if we simplify this, what we just get, this is just theta c upon 5. This is equal to theta f minus 32 upon 9. This is equal to theta r upon 4. The common factors are eliminated, so we get this final representation. So if we have to we have the temperature in degree Celsius and want to calculate in Fahrenheit or vice versa, we make use of the relationship between Celsius scale and the Fahrenheit scale. If we have the temperature in Fahrenheit and we want in Reaumur scale or vice versa, we make use of the relationship between Fahrenheit scale and the Reaumur scale. Similarly, between Celsius scale and Reaumur scale. So we can make use of this common relationship in order to find out any of the temperature. So theta and Fahrenheit, we can say Celsius and Fahrenheit scale are related by this relationship. So it is theta c upon 5, which is equal to theta f minus 32 upon 9. Similarly, these Fahrenheit and Reaumur scale are related by theta f minus 32 by 9. This is equal to theta r upon 4. Similarly, Celsius scale and Reaumur scale, they are related by theta c upon 5. This is equal to theta r upon 4. So these are the three relationships according to which we can calculate the temperature on any of the scale. Okay. Next thing important here to understand is what is absolute scale and absolute temperature. So what are these terms? So it is known from the ideal gas equation that PV it is equal to mu R T, where mu is the number of moles present in the ideal gas we are taking. P is the pressure of the gas, V is its volume, R is something constant, and T, this is called as ideal gas constant R, and T is the temperature. So if we increase the temperature, we see that the product of the pressure and volume, it remains constant. So in order to keep that constant, what we require here, suppose that temperature is increasing, then either the pressure or volume it will change. If we keep the pressure fixed, if we do not allow the gases to expand by addition of the temperature or increase in the temperature, then its pressure will increase. The increase in temperature will cause the increase in pressure. And if we plot the graph between pressure and temperature, just as this is pressure, this is temperature. Temperature we are taking in degree Celsius, and for ideal gas we are increasing. Suppose that this is 0 degree Celsius, so we are increasing, it will have some pressure, the gas will have some pressure, we represent it by the point on the pressure axis. So when we increase the temperature of this gas, but we are not allowing the gas to expand, then its pressure will keep on increasing with respect to temperature. So pressure increases directly with the temperature. And when we want to make the pressure to be 0, we have to cool this gas before, or we can say to a temperature lower than 0 degree Celsius. We have to cool it below this temperature of 0 degree Celsius. So on this axis, we get this line which is extended in backward direction, which represent the phenomena of cooling. So we see that this point where this graph meets the temperature axis, it measures to 73.15 degree Celsius. So that means when a gas is cooled 273.15 degrees Celsius below 0 degrees Celsius. So this is called as minus 273.15 degree Celsius. The pressure of the gas becomes 0. However, whatever kind of gas we take, it does not depend upon what kind of gas we take. This temperature at which the pressure of the gas becomes 0, it is same for all the gases. It is same for all kind of gases. This is gas 1, this is a gas of second kind, this is the gas of third kind. For all the gases, they may have different pressures at 0 degree Celsius, but they have no pressure at the same temperature, which is minus 273.15 degrees Celsius. So that means it does not depend upon the kind of gas that the pressure of the gases will become 0. It will become at the same temperature. So it becomes possible whenever the pressure of the gas is low and the temperature remains high. That means the temperature dependence of the gas is not so high. So this is what it means. Okay. So this negative 273.15 degrees Celsius, it is called as 0 degree Kelvin or 0 Kelvin, right? And this 0 degree Celsius, it is called as, we have to move 273.15 divisions towards the 0. This 0, it on Kelvin scale is called as 273.15 Kelvin, degree Kelvin, right? So this scale, Lord Kelvin suggested it to be a new scale whose 0, this is the 0 of the Kelvin scale, it coincides with this temperature of minus 273.15 degrees Celsius, and this temperature is the upper temperature of that scale, which is 273.15 degree Kelvin, corresponding to 0 degree Celsius. So this scale, it is called as Kelvin scale, or it is called as absolute scale. This is called as absolute scale. The Kelvin scale or the absolute scale, both are same. And the 0 of the absolute scale, this is the 0 of the absolute scale, it represents the temperature on degree Celsius of minus 273.15 degrees Celsius. This is called as absolute 0. This is called as absolute 0. So when we have to find out the temperature corresponding to any degree Celsius of temperature, suppose that the boiling point of the water, it is 100 degree Celsius. We need not to suppose it, but it is the actual figure. Okay, so on Celsius scale, the boiling point of the water, it is called to be 100 degree Celsius. How much this 100 degree Celsius will read on the Kelvin scale? So that means we have to move from 0 degree Kelvin or 0 Kelvin to the 100 degree Celsius. So that means we have to move 273 plus 100 more. So therefore the temperature on Kelvin scale, it will be equal to the temperature on degree Celsius scale, means Celsius scale, plus 273.15. We have to move 273.15 more. So if we have, for example, so this is the relationship between Kelvin scale and the Celsius scale. So if we have to find out the temperature corresponding to boiling point of water, which is 100 degrees Celsius. So therefore temperature on Kelvin scale, the 100 degrees Celsius on Kelvin scale, it will read 100 degrees Celsius plus we have to add 273.15 here. So therefore the boiling point of water on Kelvin scale, it reads 373.15 Kelvin. So this is how we convert the Celsius into Kelvin, and this is what we mean by absolute scale and the absolute 0. Now we will try to understand the effect of the heat given to a we can say any kind of substance, be it solid or liquid or gas. All kind of substances gets expanded whenever heat is added to it. So we will here the changes which take place in the substance whenever it is heated upon, it is called as thermal expansion. So here we will try to understand, or we will discuss the property which is called as expansion in the substance whenever it is heated. So we will discuss these aspects. So whenever some heat is given to a substance, the physical changes takes place in its structure, due to which it undergoes some kind of expansion. So there can be different kinds of expansion which can take place in case of solid whenever it is given some heat or it is heated up to some temperature. So we will discuss all kind of expansion which takes place in the substance. So first kind of expansion that can happen, it is the linear expansion. So what is linear expansion? It is the phenomena of expansion in the length, or we can say change in the increase in the length whenever solid is, or we can say substance is heated. Here we are going to discuss about the thermal expansion in case of solids, right? So whenever a solid is heated upon, its length increases, and this phenomena it is called as linear expansion. So in simple way, it is the phenomena of increase in the length of substance on heating. So whenever a substance is heated, the phenomena of increase in the length of the substance, solid substance of course, it is called as linear expansion. Suppose that original length is L naught, and on heating this substance, so that temperature change equal to delta theta, it happens, and the length of this substance changes from original length to L naught plus, we can say, L. So the new length becomes L naught plus L, or we can say we represent it by delta L. It become more meaningful to understand. So it becomes delta L. So this much change in the length is taking place. This much increase in length is taking place. Then it is known that this increase in the length called as delta L, this is called as expansion in the length. This increase in length, it will be directly proportional. It has been found that it is directly proportional to the original length, and it is also directly proportional to the change in temperature which is taking place. So more change in temperature taking place, more change, or we can say more increase in the length will be there. So from there we get this equation delta L. Delta L represent the increase in the length. So this is equal to, there comes a constant of proportionality called which is written as alpha into L naught, the original length, into the temperature change, which is equal to delta theta. Suppose that this is the temperature theta, and after some temperature difference of theta plus delta theta, the length changes by L naught plus delta L. So it becomes L naught plus delta, length changes by delta L. So the expansion in the length or increase in the length, it is given by alpha L naught delta T, where alpha is the constant of proportionality. Here it is, this constant, it is called as coefficient of linear expansion. This constant is for the kind of solid we are making use of here. So the coefficient of linear expansion, the value of this constant, it depends upon the internal property of the solid. So from here we can represent alpha, this constant, in order to define it and calculate it. We represent its alpha, all other terms goes to the other side, so it becomes delta L upon L naught into 1 upon delta theta. So from here we can define the coefficient of linear expansion for a solid. So simply from here it is defined as the increase, so it is defined as the increase in the length per unit original length for every degree increase in the temperature. So in other way we can say that the coefficient of linear expansion measures the increase in length per unit original length for every degree change in the temperature. So each degree change in the temperature or increase in the temperature, each degree Celsius increase in the temperature, right? So this is what we understand from the coefficient of linear expansion. So if we represent the new length by L, the new length is L and the original length is L naught. So the difference, it is called as the increase in the length. So delta L becomes equal to L minus L naught. So the increase in length, as it is equal to alpha L naught delta theta. So from here we can find out the new length, which will become L naught. This L naught goes to the other side and L naught is common. So it will become 1 plus alpha delta theta. From this equation we are just finding the new length of the solid we are heating. So we are taking L naught to the other side and making some arrangement on the other side by taking L naught as common. So we get the new length to be equal to L naught into 1 plus alpha delta theta. So the new length, it will be more if there will be more increase in the temperature. Also it will also be more if the original length is already more. And of course it also depends upon the coefficient of linear expansion in case of solid. In other way, coefficient of linear expansion measures the temperature dependence of the length of the substance, or we can say solid we are talking about. So this is called as the linear expansion. Similarly, on heating, the change in surface area may take place, so which is called as area expansion or superficial expansion. Superficial or area expansion, right? So whenever a substance is heated on, the increase in its area takes place, or we can say increase in its surface area takes place, and this phenomena, it is called as superficial or area expansion. So it is known that if A naught is the original area before it is heated on at some temperature theta, and after some temperature theta plus theta, we can say delta theta. So whenever this much of increase in temperature is taking place, the new temperature becomes theta plus delta theta, and the area becomes A naught plus delta A, right? So in that case, it is known that this increase in the area delta A, this is directly proportional to the original area, and it is also directly proportional to the increase in temperature taking place. So from there we get again a constant of proportionality called as beta, A naught into delta theta. Here this beta, it is called as the coefficient of area expansion or superficial expansion, coefficient of superficial expansion. The value of this coefficient or constant, it does depend upon the kind of the solid we are making use of. It is the internal property of the solid. It measures the temperature dependence of the area of the substance of the solid. So from here we can define this coefficient of areal expansion, or we can say superficial expansion. So from this equation, beta comes out to be all terms goes to the other side, so it becomes delta A upon A naught into 1 upon delta theta. So again on the similar steps we can define it. So the coefficient of area expansion or superficial expansion of a solid is defined as the increase in the area per unit original area for each degree increase in the temperature. So this is what we understand from the coefficient of superficial or area expansion of the solid. And suppose from here if we want to calculate the new area, then we will make use of this. So the increase in the area, which is the new area, which is A naught plus delta A, minus the original area, which is A naught, we can call the new area to be simply A. So it becomes A minus A naught. So this becomes equal to delta A, or we can say it becomes equal to beta A naught into delta theta. So we are just writing the expression for this equation into more elaborative form. So delta A is the increase in the area, which is equal to the new area minus the original area. So from here new area becomes equal to, we are taking the A naught to the other side and making some arrangement on the other side by taking A naught as common. So it becomes A naught into 1 plus beta delta theta. So this becomes the formula to calculate the new area whenever temperature of a substance is increased by delta theta. And the units for this coefficient of area expansion are nothing but per degree Celsius or per Kelvin. So it is called as per degree Celsius or per Kelvin. Similarly, here the coefficient of linear expansion, here also the units are either per degree Celsius or per Kelvin. So units remains same. And third kind of change which can take place, it is the change in the volume, called as volumetric or cubical expansion. So what is cubical expansion? It is the phenomena of increase in the volume. Increase in the volume of the substance whenever it is heated on. So therefore increase in the volume, it is found to be directly proportional to the original volume, and it is also found directly proportional to the increase in temperature is taking place. More factor by which the temperature is increasing, more will be the change in the, or we can say increase in the volume. So there comes again a constant of proportionality. Here it is represented as gamma into V naught into delta theta. This constant of proportionality here, it depends upon the kind of solid again we are making use of. It is the internal property of the solid, and it is called as the coefficient of cubic expansion or cubical expansion or volumetric expansion. And from this equation it is calculated as delta V upon V naught into 1 upon, this is V naught, 1 upon delta theta. So how do we define the coefficient of cubic expansion or cubical expansion or volume expansion? This constant, it is defined as the increase in the volume per unit original volume for each degree change in the increase in the temperature. And again its units are again here per degree Celsius or per degree Kelvin. In case of solids, whenever we draw the graph between this gamma and the temperature, suppose that in Kelvin scale the graph takes this form, we see that initially the variation of volume of the substance is comparatively small, or it becomes almost linear with the temperature. And whenever temperature exceeded by a certain value, the increase in volume, it takes place by a large factor. For even a very small change in temperature, there is large increase in the volume of the substance. And beyond that, again the change in volume starts ceasing. So this is how the graph between the coefficient of cubic expansion takes place with the temperature. So there are three kinds of the constants or coefficient of we can say expansion whenever a solid is heated upon. We can also establish the relationship between alpha, beta and the gamma. These three kinds of coefficients. So to begin with, So it is the relation between alpha, beta and gamma. So to begin with, to establish the relationship between three constants, we make use of this original equation of the coefficient of linear expansion, or we can say linear expansion. So new length, it will be related to L naught into 1 plus alpha delta theta. Here L, the new length will become equal to L naught into 1 plus alpha delta theta. We will start establishing the relationship from here. So first we square the equation. So when we square, we get L square, which is equal to L naught square, and inside the bracket, when it is squared on, it becomes 1 plus alpha square delta theta square plus 2 into alpha delta theta. By making use of a plus b to the whole square, it becomes a square plus b square plus 2 into a into b. Here in place of a we have 1. Okay. In case of solids, the coefficient of linear expansion, it remains quite small. So therefore its square, it will be even smaller. So as we take the higher orders of this coefficient of linear expansion, the values becomes smaller. So their contribution becomes very, very small. So we can drop their terms, or we can say considerations. So in this equation, we drop any higher order terms of this constant alpha. So this term is dropped. So we are left with only L square. This is equal to L naught square into 1 plus 2 alpha delta theta. Here L square, it is nothing but the new area, and L naught square, it is nothing but the original area. We represent it by A and A naught into 1 plus 2 alpha delta theta. This is the temperature by which the temperature of the substance is increased. Actually, this is the temperature difference. Okay. So when we write the general equation for the superficial or area expansion, we write it as A is equal to A naught into 1 plus beta delta theta. So when we compare these two equations, we see that in place of beta, we are getting 2 alpha. So that simply means, on comparing these two equations, beta, it is always equal to twice of the alpha. So this is the relationship between beta and the alpha. So that means if we have some change in we can say length, then the area of the substance will increase by twice, right? So this is the relationship between beta and alpha. Similarly, if we cube this equation, instead of squaring, if we take the cube of this equation, it becomes L cube. This is equal to L naught cube, and whenever this is expanded, a plus b to the whole cube, and higher order terms of alpha are dropped because their contribution will become rather small. So we will be left with only this equation, 1 plus 3 alpha delta theta. Here L cube, it is nothing but the new volume. L naught cube, it is nothing but the original volume. So we are representing it by their notations, and it will become, inside the bracket, it will be 1 plus 3 alpha delta theta. So when we write the general equation for volume expansion or cubic expansion, we write it as V is equal to V naught into 1 plus gamma delta theta. So when we compare these two equations, we see that in place of gamma, we have 3 alpha. So it means that gamma, it is equal to 3 alpha. So this is the relationship between the gamma and alpha. So when we compare these two equations, if we have alpha, then beta will be always from here. Beta will be equal to, alpha will be equal to, from this equation it will be half of beta, and from this equation it will be equal to half of, third part of the gamma. So this is the general expression for the relationship between alpha, beta and gamma. Or in other way, you can write the ratio of alpha to the beta to the gamma, the three kinds of constant, this ratio comes out to be 1:2:3. That's all. Thank you.